establishing a CPP. The residents are surveyed. The plan is developed. The buses are acquired. The contracts are signed, and the CPP is launched. And I put in question marks. It's early 2017.
Yep.
So when we all sat down and started going through this, she, they thought it was useful information, but like her question was, so why? What about this information, these surveys that you included? Like, there's a lot of information here. So what is it telling me? I mean, why did you include these? So in the one that I included that Oakland County One Stop Shop had given, I highlighted the income portion of it that demonstrated, there's a lower income. So based on that, there is a need for people who maybe don't have a vehicle or can't afford a vehicle or whatever. So because of that, there's a need. And then I highlighted the two statistics that talk about the growth of the senior citizens, what it's going to be like in 2020 and how much growth, with two age groups, 55 to 64 and 65 to 74. So in that particular document, that One Stop Shop gave me, I said those were two statistics or, two areas to look at that I felt as though, and in our discussions, warranted that there are supportive of need for additional transportation. And then the survey about that the Oakland County Homeless Health Care Coalition did, and it talked about 95% of the clients from the agencies use the bus service and stuff, so that was good. So they could see that. And then when we talked about the rides and everything, so then we got to the point on the list where she was looking at, she said, well, I'm looking at these people on this board, and none of them have any experience with doing a survey. And who's going to develop the survey? Like, what kind of questions are you going to ask? And, like we can't just go out and open-endedly say to people, what do you want? Because we'll get way too many answers.
Yeah.
But that's the point of...
meeting, first of all, was almost, I would say, a good hour and 45 minutes. Under 2 hours, but more than an hour and a half. So, I was almost wondering, does she not want to do this or what? But her, after talking with Robert when it was over, he believes she wants to do this. She just wants to do it the right way. Now, Nevers's background is he used to be in Hamtramck, so he's familiar with how a CPP, how much it costs, how much it runs, and what's involved. So he was, in my opinion, maybe a little more, and I don't want to say pessimistic, but maybe realist about, does the city really want to take on this responsibility? So that's when, I talked more about, well, this is where the Dream Center could come in and really help out. That could relieve the city of having to do that. And then the Sun-Times Bank, that's the route, it turned into developing. That could also reduce the cost. And Robert threw in things like, well, and you can use part-time drivers as opposed to. So we presented more so, I think, that they could understand better that it's not, while it's financially going to cost some money, and yeah, the municipal and community credits really are only about $150, but they're going to have opportunities to take advantage of grants that, through us for this, the vehicles, the maintenance, that type of thing. So I think they're more, when we left, Robert he was confident that, yes, she wants to do this, she just wants to do it the right way.
Right.
But
she doesn't know what the right way, but she doesn't know what the right way is.
You what?
But she doesn't know what the right way is.
Correct. So what we're going to do is, today, I'm formalizing a letter that will come from Mayor Waterman and me, and it will go to anybody and everybody that attended either of the summits. And Robert's going to look at it first before I send it to Mayor Waterman. And it's going to kind of lay out what we're doing. So there are basically 3 to 4 things that need to be
But who determines the top 5?
Yeah,
Pardon me?
Who determines the top 5?
No, it would be like somehow this group, if this is how the group decides to go, determine, like come up with a list of like the top 20, somewhere between 20 and 50, whatever there is, because nobody knew what are the top places.
Exactly. Can I interrupt you for just a second? May I interrupt you for just 1 second?
Yeah.
This is what's wrong with surveys. If someone determines what the survey materials are before they address the public who can inform them what they should be.
Well, yes, but there was concern that going out and saying, what do you want or what do you need is so open-ended.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
that's what
and
design thinking is meant to address.
Right.
You start with open-ended and broad,
And then you
narrow it down.
the focus, okay? Rather than determining it for them.
And you start with a narrow focus.
This is why the community is so important in this. They are the customer.
Right.
And this idea that the governance is the customer is wrongly framed. And that's why surveys are going out the door, okay? Go directly to the customer, ask the customer what is necessary, narrow the focus. By the customer narrowing the focus, right.
All right, well, all right, I get that. So, there was a discussion then about how do we get to all the customers?
We have a strategy for that. We've gone over it about doing the Community Services Roadshow at the places where the community frequents. We have a number of places. We talked to Maddie, we talked to Bill, we talked to the Dream Center, we talked to students, we talked to OU students.
Let's say that if we did, 15 or 20 of those, okay? Of which there's probably 100.
Right.
We can then have them come. In other words, once this word gets out, it'll have a momentum of its own. And then we can actually be providing a service to the place that they should be coming in the first place, which is their downtown. But right now, they don't come to their downtown, for all the right reasons, this being one of them, okay?
Right.
So you want to have success, let's go out among them and see if we can't move the momentum back towards them coming to their downtown where they should have come in the first place, but don't, because of the very issue that we're describing, which is that the governance is going to determine this for you, thank you very much, and your input's not necessary. Here are the top 5 choices as we've determined. And they're going, well, what about, and already you have to deal with the objection. Let's not deal with objection, let's create the solution.
Okay, I hear you.
And if we have to do that behind the scenes, all right, we will. And if we have to put a face on it that says, no, we're adhering to the mayor's proposition, we can do that.
Okay, how can we do that?
Just as you're describing.
Okay, because this is what okay, so let me finish and then you tell me how we can do what we need to do.
Okay, it's a little duality, but don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the things that she said, work on a survey, devise a survey that would determine the needs, and the survey would come from somehow, and we decided that our marketing department could work on that survey. So it might be where we get together with Beth and Robert and talk about this.
Okay.
And then it says devise a plan, how the survey would be distributed and collect the information. What's the cost involved? Look at how it's going to be distributed, etc. So some of the ways we thought about that is, perhaps we would attend the meetings at each one of the districts. But you guys, we already have the listing too, so we could include that listing, put them all together. And in the letter that is going to go out to all the committee members or people who attended these things, it's going to be broke. We're going to ask them to say, yes, I want to be on this, and this is the portion I want to work on. Because then there's another aspect that who's going to tabulate all the information
Great.
Okay?
And what's your time frame for that?
Okay, so the letter is going to go out next week to
Okay.
everybody with a date of get back to me and let me know if you're involved or want to get involved sometime like by mid-December at the latest. So I'm looking at a calendar now and I'm thinking maybe, the 14th or something like that.
Right.
And then by January,
15th.
whenever we decide after January, we're
Trust-
hitting the road
trust-
doing all of it.
Trust me, it'll be the 15th. Everybody goes to sleep between the 15th and the 15th, okay?
Okay, but during that time, marketing, because when Robert and I talked afterwards, during that time, marketing will come up with a survey. So by January, we're ready to hit the road and do all of this stuff.
Great.
So tabulate. So I said at the end of the meeting, I said, in my humble opinion, I would personally like to see this whole thing up and running at the very latest by July 1. But Robert said, but if you tell us you're ready to do it tomorrow, we'll find you buses and it'll start tomorrow.
Right.
But really up to how we want to drive this and whenever they want us to give the go-ahead.
Okay. So how is the city council involved? Let me guess, they aren't.
Well, they're going to have to be involved because
No
they're
kidding.
going to have to approve transferring the funds.
No, hold on, right there. They are the vehicle by which we determine the impact on their district. So they're in it way early.
Well, you're telling me they are or they aren't?
They must be
Yeah.
way early, like now.
Well, wouldn't they, based on each one of their districts, because apparently, and you know this more than I, they all hold meetings.
Yes.
So that would be one of the target areas where we go to talk to people.
That would be the beginning. That would be the beginning.
Huh?
That would be the beginning. That would be the number one.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so, yeah, they're definitely involved.
Well, I haven't heard that. What I've heard is that the mayor's in charge, and this is the way it's going to go down, and we'll get to the city council when we get to the city council.
Oh, no, because we, in order to reach the people, and in the discussion, like, Never's brought up, like, and she's like, how do we reach the people? Never's brought up, well, at the different meetings, because they're televised, so that's how we can let people know that we're doing this, and, they need to get involved or give their input or whatever. So that was just one avenue.
So we need to frame those kinds of things for the city council.
See what now?
We need to frame that kind of effort on behalf of the city council. They can't do it, we'll have to do it for them.
Well, wouldn't we do that by finding out when their meetings are and showing up at the meetings or letting them know we're going to be at the meeting?
I think we should have some conversation with some of the city council members about how we go about this.
Okay.
So that they're actively participating as opposed to just receiving. Because the first thing the first thing they're gonna say is, well, I wasn't aware of this, because they always say that, okay? So we wanna take that away from them.
Okay, all right. Now, I say something else, actively participate, wait a minute.
Right.
Also, when we talked about who do we talk to or how do we go out, she said, that she would provide a listing of like senior subsidized housing, go to those areas or low income housing, and that type of thing of places to hit.
Awesome.
Yeah, okay.
We got other things to hit them with as well. The survey's not just about transportation. This survey is about discovering why transportation's necessary.
Okay.
And so far we've talked about seniors and we talked about various other elements of common understanding of what mass transit's all about. But we haven't talked about the things that are necessary to address education and young people coming to their city for services that aren't so obvious, such as going to the library, such as going to after-school programs, such as receiving counseling for the damage that they receive in their environment, really important issues.
Right, now, and that wasn't necessarily, well, not necessarily, it wasn't discussed because for the funding, the grant funding that comes through SMART traditionally for our CCCs, it's funding that is related to transporting seniors and or disabled.
I got that.
We're talking about
But we're talking
expanded.
about a transportation challenged community, which supersedes the original conversation about, tell me why we need it.
Right. I got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
The reason you need it is you're a transportation challenged community. This is not fucking Grosse Pointe.
Right.
And anybody that doesn't understand that and is from the city of Pontiac needs to get a refresher course, okay?
Right.
And
And
what
then
we're
they
trying,
need a survey.
yeah, and what we're trying to
They
do
need a survey.
is we're trying to bring value into the community that will supersede the problems that are necessitating us having to do this as an afterthought, but rather addressing problems way up front when young people are young and of mind and have needs, and addressing those needs so that you become accustomed to using the transit system. Unlike the seniors who we know how they have to go out and inform about the transit system that they should have known. Right. We're trying to get in front of that.
Got it.
And there's more importance to the city of Pontiac in getting, and I'm glad you didn't even mention this to them, and maybe you did. There's more importance to the city of Pontiac about getting their community back in their city than there is anything else economically engaged currently. Any development that's going on, any economic development funds, funding, et cetera, et cetera. This is the crux of the economic development proposition, which is to get my community back in my city.
Right.
That's bigger than taking them out to take them out somewhere, okay? Much bigger.
Right.
And much more valuable to the mayor. Although
she when we were done, she did bring up, she said, okay, here's a different unrelated topic. And I don't know if there's grant funding available that specifically involves youth. So she wanted to know, what communities had good youth centers that they could go tour, like Southfield is one that they want.
Oh my God.
Hold on. This goes to Kermit advocating and getting on the vote and having it approved that there'd be a youth center developed in Pontiac.
Yeah.
Well, that's Kermit's, and he owns it, okay?
Okay.
So I see what she's looking for. Can we get anything outside
Out of Pontiac
to counteract, what Kermit's going to bring forth inside, which is just so typical of how this Pontiac governance works.
I would like to believe that this is something she wants to develop in Pontiac, that there's funds available.
Well, there is. It was passed on the millage. The millage passed.
But that's Kermit.
That's Kermit.
It's not
Okay,
hers.
got it.
He's running for mayor.
Oh. So you don't think she's actually for this youth thing?
Yo, she's for it if she can own it.
But she wants to own it. Just like she wants to own the community partnership program.
Got it. Okay.
And
we're not opposed
it'd
to
be
that.
great if she had a good idea.
We're not opposed to that. Okay, but we also don't want to dismiss the authors of those elements, okay?
Yeah, okay. Now, when is the race for mayor?
Next year.
Oh, in 17?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, all right.
I believe
Yeah,
it is.
they got a year.
Yeah.
They're politicking right now.
She's politicking right now.
Oh, I did not realize that.
Sure. You're going to be a big thing on their list. You'll be speaking for her.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Know your power, girl.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it is. You could make her look smart.
Imagine that. So, I'm going to draft this letter and send it over to Robert, and then send it to the mayor. So that'll go out.
Well, can you copy us? I'd like to look and make sure that we can, not miss anything that was
Yes,
yeah.
I will blind copy you on it.
Fine. But don't be in a hurry here.
I've been blind copying you on several things. I think you guys know that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
But don't be in a hurry here. We have a lot of community partners. All those community partners you're talking about actually have plans of their own. For instance, we were talking about 2017.
Right.
And Blair informed us yesterday that he's developing the business plan as we speak for that other bridge in Detroit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
And we'll be working on the business plan with him tomorrow.
So let's make sure that we have everybody on a page that can take into consideration these things that are in their formative sense, but actually will be occurring long before we finish in the first quarter, okay?
Okay.
And we want that. If you think that's, if you wanted to say, how am I going to impact my city, that's bigger than anything that's going to happen in the city of Pontiac right now. Much larger. You know it, I know it.
Right.
And the mayor will be more than happy to become the author.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd be more than happy to have her be author of that.
Right.
Right. And the only reason that we're saying that is because we can't find any smart people in Pontiac. Okay. So we're going to the other bridge where there are some smart. Well, we're going to the other bridge where there are some smart people, and then we're going to reflect back on how we can bring that to be in a bridged exercise, which is what we discussed, right? So everybody will be happy. There'll be plenty of room for authors.
Right.
And we'll be successful. We have a very similar situation in Detroit with the confluence of the Masonic Temple, the park adjacent, and Cass Tech across the street. Just exactly what we have here on our corner.
And the Illich development right next door.
Okay, so one reflects the other. It's a question of who's going to be first. Well, if we're really successful, they'll coincide simultaneously.
Yeah, exactly.
And who would be the winner of that execution? Smart.
Yeah, but I don't want just the people.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, but as one of the few organizations open to innovation and doing something interesting, you would be the recipient of people's love.
Right. All right.
There has to be organization. There has to be.
Don't be in a hurry. I want to get her this letter today just because I said I would.
I know, but I'm telling you, the target's 2018. When your millage comes up, and we want to be building capacity in 2017.
Right.
That's what we're working from. Okay.
Okay. All right. So, but I think though that, and I know this is just a small part of it, but it's a big part of it.
It's the most important piece.
Yeah. So you and me and Monica should sit down at some point in time with Robert and Beth, the marketing, and develop. I mean, just so that you can talk to them too again. One-on-one with Beth to just kind of bring her into this mindset as well.
You mean like have a design charrette?
Correct.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, let's do that sometime, first couple of weeks in December.
Fine. At your convenience.
So we can still, with our own, or in my simple head, kind of still focus on January to be like hitting.
Absolutely.
Let's get a plan for this, like executing this, just to keep it somewhat moving.
Yeah, of course, we're not trying to get away of anything, we're just expanding the envelope, okay?
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, but everybody goes to sleep on December 15th, you know that, I know that, they wake up on the 15th of January, okay?
Yeah.
In government,
That's fine. But if we can meet with Beth before the 15th of December, and then, just so I can have that off, so, okay, that's done.
that's fine.
Yeah, earlier the better.
We can start building something right now with that in mind, so that we can share it before we get here to determine what we're gonna do. We'll already know what we're gonna do in some fashion.
Perfect, and then you can lead us.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll all come together to discuss relevant things as opposed to saying, well, what's on the agenda?
Right, and then Beth will, and she can walk away and think it's her idea, and that'll be
Absolutely.
beautiful for everybody. She's that kind of gal.
That's how we operate, okay?
All right, cool.
We're not in this to be the lead, we're in this to have success.
Yeah, exactly. I'm totally with you on that.
There we go.
All right.
There's enough to go around for everybody, okay?
Absolutely.
There we go.
All right.
Well, awesome, congratulations.
That's what I got. I feel better now.
Huge.
I always feel better when I know you guys understand it, because, well, I think I do. It's still way bigger, and it's...
You got this.
It's so big. Sometimes it's like, holy fuck.
You got this. And the RTA, Mr. Stupka and so forth, can become informed, okay, by watching what you do, okay?
Yeah, and I want to say, who is it? Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So this is really fun. It's so exciting, isn't it?
This is Plan B on steroids, okay?
Yeah. It's so exciting. All right. What else? Anything else?
Looking forward to seeing you.
Yes.
Yeah. Have a wonderfully, deliciously beautiful Thanksgiving.
You
You
as well.
too.
I will.
All right.
All right, be safe.
I'll talk to you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
So she says she's gonna shoot that over, so we might even have it by tomorrow for a Blair's meeting.
Yeah.
We need to build the page for tomorrow.
Okay.